figure out how people like Kanye West and Taylor Swift and Beyonce and Jay-Z are building these billion-dollar brands. Yo, we got a big one today. We got a big one. We talking about a billion-dollar brand as a rapper, singer, a songwriter. As we review a dope video that I found on YouTube by the CEO, multimillionaire, CEO of The Future, which is a business for coaching, entrepreneurship and design, things like that. But this guy is a super intelligent guy, super intelligent business leader and entrepreneur. And in this specific video, he already took the time to do some studying, to do some research and figure out how people like Kanye West and Taylor Swift and Beyonce and Jay-Z are building these billion-dollar brands. And in today's video, we're gonna go over it and review his videos on how these guys are doing it. And we're gonna get some gems, man. Y'all be sure to tune in. Y'all be sure to lock in. Y'all be sure to, you know what I'm saying, share this video with somebody who may need it, who may need this information. Yeah, man, let's lock in. Get your pen and paper ready. We about to tap in, man, figure out how we build us a billion-dollar brand. It's your boy 100 with 100 Jones Productions, man. We about to get right into it. Let me pull it up. All right, let's go. How to build a billion-dollar brand. And I like this video because he goes over like the personal brand, meaning like what makes people even capable of having a billion-dollar brand. And I think that's the personal aspect. And I love the way that he kind of goes over it in this video. Let's get into it, y'all. Y'all ready? All right, I'm done yelling. All right, let's go.
Let's not tiptoe into the pool of controversy. Let's dive headfirst into it. Let's talk about the genius himself. Does he have an emotional bond, an irrational emotional bond with his audience and his community? Yes, most definitely. The power of influence that he has in directing, capturing, and leveraging attention, that's one of the key components to having a personal brand. He doesn't go along with a mainstream opinion, which makes him a very divisive person. Okay, so if you're picking up on all the clues that I'm giving, let's put it together here. I have some strong opinions about what a personal brand is and what it isn't. And so I'd like to share some of my thoughts and see if you guys can track along with what I'm saying. So if I ask you, like, what is a personal brand? Who has a really strong personal brand? I think the tendency is for you to say famous people or people who have great influence in the world.
Right.
And then I ask you other questions about them and then it will start to unravel. So let's try to like just break down systematically the things or the core components that you need to have a strong personal brand. Number one, is being famous a component of having a personal brand? So let's examine famous people that we know.
What y'all think? Is being famous part of having a personal brand? Do you have to be famous to have a personal brand? And if you are famous, does that mean that you do have a personal brand? If you're a rapper, if you know a famous rapper, do you feel like they have a personal brand or are they just famous? Let's find out what he said.
Or we think we know, and then to ask ourselves, do we really know who they are? And the number one component that I keep coming back to is, do we have a strong emotional connection, a sense of knowing this person, that we know this story, that we can relate and identify with them, such that we would be willing to go out of our way to buy their books, to wait in line to see their movie, or to attend a concert or a workshop that they're doing. This is critical. So the first person I think of is someone who's relatively famous, who's a prolific content creator, who is a well-respected thought leader, and his name is Seth Godin. Seth Godin has written over 22 books, has written a blog post every single day for over a decade, which is an incredible feat in itself. I have great admiration for Seth Godin.
Seth Godin is a
goat. We've had him as a podcast guest here on this channel. The question is, what do we know about Seth Godin outside of his subject matter expertise? And the answer is very little. I'll ask you a couple of questions. Is he married? We think so.
So, for those of you who are posting and sharing your music to your social media platforms, would you say that your fans that you're sharing it to, the people who you're sharing your music to, would you say that they know anything about you personally? Anything besides the fact that you make music, would they know anything about you as the person?
What's his wife's name? Does he have children? How many children does he have? What are their names? Does he have a pet? What are his interests and hobbies outside of observing things and writing about things that relate to marketing in the 21st century? Then it becomes really opaque. So Seth Godin, arguably, is a famous person, is a sought after public figure who has lectured all over the world on some of the biggest stages in the world. But the question I have for you is, does he have a strong personal brand? I think this is a good clue as to how we start thinking about personal brands and why I think my perspective on this is so different than the vast majority of people who talk about having and building a personal brand. Let's take another person, someone that you'll most likely know if you're watching this channel, Gary Vaynerchuk. Let's run him through the same test with Seth.
So Gary Vaynerchuk is a legend in the marketing world. He's one of the social media marketers. This guy puts out content more than anybody else on the internet, I believe. Like, when I say this guy is the spokesperson for shut the hell up and post the content, like, and he's got a famous term of fuck it, you know, not for real, but he actually says, like, you know, people are scared and people are just not taking advantage of the opportunity that they have as far as on social media. And this kind of speaks into what he's talking about, and using him as an example, he has a strong personal brand because he has a strong opinion on things. He speaks his mind very fluently. So having a strong opinion on things kind of makes you polarizing in a sense, right? So let's see what he said.
Godin. Is he famous? Certainly he is famous. Is Gary a thought leader? Has he published books? Is he a best-selling author? Is he a sought-after speaker and also have spoken on the biggest stages of the world? And I would say probably inarguably yes, 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 and yes. And he has one additional thing, as far as I know, that might put him above a lot of other people. He runs a large enterprise, a big business that does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, according to him. Does Gary Vaynerchuk have a personal brand? Does he have this irrational emotional connection to you? And I want you to pause and think about that for a second, and then answer the question of why or why not? And we can examine this together. I think Gary has a very strong personal brand, and it's going to give us our second clue. He has a strong point of view on things. So not only do you have to build a strong emotional connection, which he has, as evidenced by his collaboration with K-Swiss, with his launch of his NFTs, and anything else he's hawking, empathy wines, because a person, and you can test this, who has a personal brand is able to take ordinary things and make them extraordinary by associating themselves with this. This is really critical. This is another test. So by association with something, that thing becomes more valuable. And we're going to borrow language from the corporate world here. A t-shirt, you can buy a pack of 3 for like a few bucks. And if you're really thrifty for not.
All right, so pick up what he's saying, right? He's like, if you actually have a strong personal brand, you will be able to put your stamp on something and raise the value of that thing because the people will follow you because of your personal brand. So, and like he says, having a strong opinion on things kind of sets that. Think about like Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a strong opinion on things, make America great again. You either love Donald Trump or you really hate Donald Trump. And that's a good thing because it just shows the power of his influence, that he has the ability to create, you know, move people into a direction, whether it's for him, against him, or whatever. People are taking in what they are receiving from him, and they're deciding which side they're having to choose. You can't just be idle. You know, you have to choose.
Not a whole lot.
So before I go, as a rapper, what can you do to create a stronger personal brand? Speak your opinion on things. Give a strong opinion. Have an opinion on something. Whether it's like, I believe that every rapper should go independent. That's me. I believe that every rapper should build an independent brand, build an independent business as a rapper, singer, or songwriter, and then take that and do a partnership with a record label if you ever want to do one. You may not want to do one. I know a lot of artists get big and then go independent. But if you never sign a record label, you can build up. That's just something I believe you can just build up a personal, you can build up an independent business as a rapper, singer, or songwriter. So that's what I believe, and that's why I started Rapper Secrets, and that's why I started the Rappreneur Academy, to help artists build up their independent business, so that if they decide to go to a label, it's more of a partnership than them, you know, taking over and controlling you.
But you can go to Target, you can go to Costco and buy a pack of 3 Hanes beefy white t-shirts for probably $10 for a pack of 3, maybe a little bit more than that. So you're paying essentially for the raw material costs and assembly and the shipping that it takes to get it to the market, and some waste built into that. You're not getting a lot above that. What brands are able to do is to charge a premium above and beyond the cost of goods sold. The higher that premium, the stronger the brand. So when Gary grabs a bottle of wine, perhaps it costs him $4 or $5 to make, he sells it for $55. You could say his brand, or the premium that he adds to it, is that $50 difference of intangible value. And that's really, really important. So we go back to Seth Godin. So Seth Godin says, hey, here's a line of mugs. Here's a pair of shoes that I endorse and put my name on, the Seth Godin kicks. Does it command a higher premium for it? If it doesn't, then we're in trouble. And what he's doing there, Gary Vaynerchuk, is he's leveraging that emotional connection that you have with him. I guess your desire to reciprocate the value in which you've received, and you tell yourself you're supporting this artist, this designer, this creative, this thought leader by purchasing the things that they have endorsed or put their name behind.
Is you picking this up? Is you hearing what he's saying? So the guy he's talking about, Gary Vee, has a book called "Jab, Jab, Jab, Right Hook," which essentially he's saying you give something to the audience, you give something to the audience, you give something to the audience, and then you ask for something. So he's eventually saying give, ask, right? Meaning like you're giving so much free value, you're giving so much free entertainment or music or live performances or live shows, and you're doing so much for your audience that they feel entitled to want to return. It's called the law of reciprocation. They feel entitled to want to give back to you in a different way, whether that's buying your merch, buying tickets to your shows, subscribing to your Twitch channel, or whatever it may be. But by you giving and giving and giving value, they almost feel impelled to give back. They almost feel they have to give something back. And if you offering them a $10 ticket to a show or $30 hoodie, for them, they feel like it's more than worth it because you've already given them so much. Which is why I tell you guys, build communities and create a lot of content. Keep posting content for your audience. And like he's saying, tell them your stories, give your opinion on things so that you can build your brand.
Really important. He can take a piece of information and send it through the Gary Vaynerchuk filter and then produce a message that in essence has the same meaning, but sounds very much like a Vaynerism. This is important. And there's Godinisms too, but this is one of those criteria, so that what we can't do is we can't say things the way that other people say them and expect anyone to believe that there's any credibility that we have a personal brand. We need to have a strong point of view. Let's not tiptoe into the pool of controversy. Let's dive headfirst into it. Let's talk about the genius himself, the one and only Ye. We're talking about Kanye West here. Does he have a strong personal brand? If we use the same metrics in which we've been looking at, let's run it through and see how strong his personal brand is. Undoubtedly, with the drop of Vultures Volume 1.
What y'all think? Y'all think Kanye got a strong personal brand? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. 1, if you think Kanye got a strong personal brand. 2, if you don't think he has a strong personal brand. Y'all put that in the chat. Pause the video, put it back in the chat. Let me know.
1 and 2. His collab with TIDAL. His Fallout and Rehab, and then Fallout again with Adidas, and with the line of clothing and the shoes with Yeezy, and his genius marketing plan. Let's kind of figure it out. Number 1.
So right now, you as a rapper, as a singer, as a songwriter, do you feel like you have a strong personal brand based on what we went over so far? Do you feel like if you were to put your name on a t-shirt, would that raise the value of that t-shirt? And if not, like you said, we have a problem. That's something you need to be thinking about. So pay attention.
Does he have an emotional bond, an irrational emotional bond with his audience and his community? Yes, most definitely. How do we know this? How do we know that? Well, because every time he does something, we all care. We care about it in the trades. We see it in the tabloids. We go to concerts. We read articles about him. We'll watch videos about him. And there's this constant feed of Kanye West news. He's lost his mind. He's battling mental health. He's in and out of relationships. You know, he's He's dabbling as some kind of auteur with music and now with fashion. So most definitely we care. There's a hyper sense of attention or focus on whatever Kanye does. So clearly he has mastered personal branding, because whatever he wants to talk about is what we'll be talking about. That's how powerful he is.
Even when we
Put
don't want to
aside
hear
all
it,
the
they talk
crazy
about
stuff
it.
he said. We're not here to judge whether or not what he's saying is good or bad. It's just the power of influence that he has in directing, capturing, and leveraging attention. That's one of the key components to having a personal brand. Does he have
Directing, capturing, and leveraging attention. Directing, capturing, and leveraging attention. Let's talk about this video. This very video that we on right now. This guy Chris Do, though he may not be big in the music community, he's really big in the content creator community. And I'm basically right now, even with the thumbnail of this video, leveraging his attention for my advantage. You know, so I'm using his face, his name, his expertise, his experience, and I'm placing my face next to it in order to build my brand and also give you guys value, using his expertise and his knowledge and his credibility so that you guys believe it. If I told you how to build a $1 billion brand, you probably wouldn't believe it. But I'm gonna allow this guy who's a professional, who's already successful, who's a millionaire, to show you how to build a $1 billion brand. And I love this video because he's using rappers and singers and songwriters as his example.
of strong POV? Clearly he has emotional bond. Does he have a clear POV? You can't get no clearer than this. And I'm trying my best to speak proper English here, because he has a conspiracy theory on everything, about drugs, about Jewish people, about media, about TIDAL, about holding back black people in slavery. He has an opinion about everything, and he doesn't go along with a mainstream opinion, which makes him a very divisive person. So having a strong point of view means that you're going to make some friends, but you'll also make some enemies along the way. And I think to a degree, he has hurt his music part by saying, I guess, the relatively outlandish things that he's been saying. I think he's lost over $1 billion in sponsorships and brand deals because of the things he said about Jewish.
Lost $2 billion in just one day in wake of anti-Semitic remarks. That is crazy. That is insane, yo.
Jewish people. It is seen as anti-Semitic. And so that's very, very problematic in today's culture. But he's okay with that. He's accepted that I will say this. I'm not going to
Strong opinion, guys. Have a strong opinion on things.
apologize until you can challenge me with a better rational argument. I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe, because he has enough money now that he doesn't have to worry about this. It's like, it's good to be so rich you don't care if you get canceled, because it don't matter at the end of the day. So I know what you're thinking. Chris is talking about all these celebrities, so I guess it's unfair. They're good looking, they're rich, they're famous. Gosh, and they have personal brands too. But here's the thing though. In the world of people that are famous, actors, musicians, designers, whatever famous person you're thinking of, ask yourself if you have an emotional connection to them. And there's a good chance that most of them do not add value to something by lending their endorsement or attachment or association with, because there are a ton of actors out there that they can't sell a vodka line, they can't sell a tequila line, they can't raise money to start a coffee bean company, or they don't move pairs of jeans if they just say, like, I'm associated with this, because this is not how we see them and it's not the relationship we have with them. So I think there's something that's going on here, and it's the first thing that we need to kind of break down. And I use that word very intentionally. Think about the wall that exists between you, your content, your beliefs, your values, your ideas, your message, your story, and your audience. How much will you let them in on that stuff will determine that connection that they have with you. All right, so naturally we have to talk about the queen bee herself here. Who am I talking about? I'm not talking Beyonce. I'm talking about Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, the most successful tour that's ever existed in the history of tours. Multi-billion dollar, something that's going on here, and it's this is sell vodka. That most of them do not add value to something by lending their endorsement or attachment or association with, because there are a ton of actors out there that they can't sell a vodka line, they can't sell a tequila line, they can't raise money to start a coffee bean company, or they don't move pairs of jeans if they just say, like, I'm associated with this, because this is not how we see them and it's not the relationship we have with them. So I think there's something that's going on here, and it's the first thing that we need to kind of break down. And I use that word very intentionally. Think about the wall that exists between you, your content, your beliefs, your values, your ideas, your message, your story, and your audience. How much will you let them in on that stuff will determine that connection that they have with you.
how much will you let your audience in on your personal stuff that's going on in your life, on the behind the scenes of your music, on what you were going through when you made the song? This is why I keep telling you guys that building community and just having conversations with your community is one of the best things that you can do as a rapper, as a singer, as a songwriter. If you're in the entertainment business, you want to have a strong personal brand with your community. Like being able to be open with them and transparent with them and show them into your life is what's going to separate your relationship with them and your connection with them from their connection and relationship with any other artist. Because what's happening is pretty soon it's so much music being put out, it's so much good music being put out, that people have to go and find the artist that they just genuinely like and go listen to their music. And a lot of times it's not just the music itself, it's what they think of the person, it's who the person represents themselves as, and what they're doing for other people, that makes them want to build that connection and relationship, or even like what they've been through. If they come from a similar background, come from a similar history, if that artist is mixed black and white parents and you're mixed black and white parents, they're gonna have a stronger connection with you than just a regular artist, just because they have a similar background, they have a similar upbringing, they have some things that you guys went through if you're a mixed race that most people who are just black or just white didn't go through. You know what I'm saying? So but if you don't never tell anybody that, you never express it, you never talk about those things, you're not going to be able to build that connection with those fans, right?
All right, so naturally we have to talk about the Queen Bee herself here.
The Queen
Who am
Bee.
I talking about? I'm not talking Beyonce. I'm talking about Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, the most successful tour that's ever existed in the history of tours. Multi-billion-dollar juggernaut. And the stats are ridiculous. People were reporting that the Swifties were shaking the ground by jumping up and down, that it registered on the Richter scale. I mean, you're talking about seismic activity of personal brand, literally felt. You can't get no better than this. This is ridiculous levels of personal branding. She's done a lot of beautiful things in order for her to achieve this kind of status. Now, first of all, I think there is undeniable talent there. A gift for storytelling, for writing hooks that are catchy.
So yes, you need to be good, guys. It needs to be good music.
Topping singles. What I saw in the Eras Tour, which is a 3-hour-long concert film, is someone who's a master at their craft. She's brought you into her stories, her heartaches, her love stories, and she is able to make women and men of all ages feel like she is their champion, that she creates space for them to be them, and she invites you in on this thing. But despite being a globe-trotting mega superstar at the highest order, she still gets down on one knee and looks you in the eye and says, "Thanks for being here. You mean so much to me."
That means so much. That means so much. And I've been studying Kai Cenat a lot recently because, you know, he's one of the biggest streamers. And one of the things that I really noticed about him and that I can see is why he's where he's at the top is because he's extremely humble. He's extremely down to earth. He doesn't sit there and talk about money. He's got chains and stuff, but he's just not sitting there rocking these chains and bragging about it. And, you know, he needs it in every video. Most of his streams, he shows up in t-shirt, some pants, probably need a belt on, like just looking regular, you know what I'm saying? But he's extremely humble with it. And he even says he doesn't like talking about money because people look at him differently. So, you know, being down to earth, being eye level. And another thing, he always interacts with the chat. He calls them his chat or his viewers or his fans or whatever who are on his live. He always interacts. What y'all think about this, chat? Should I do this, chat? Let's go over here. Should I wear this or should I wear this? Should I do this stream or should I do this stream? Should I play a game or should I have an artist come through? You know what I'm saying? And he's constantly interacting with them. Hey, yo, I lost my headphones. Y'all see my head? Oh, they over there? Okay, boom. That's my head. I appreciate y'all. You know, and they're all involved. They're always involved in everything that he's doing. He has guests over. He's making sure that they can see, the camera can see everything. He's really tuned in to making sure that they get the ultimate experience. And that is his only focus. He loves his fans. You can tell. That's why people subscribe. That's why he's got 100,000 subscribers a month. You know, that's why people are getting him millions of views on all his videos. They come looking for him on YouTube because they just got off his stream and felt like they just kicked it with their homeboy for 8 hours. Man, streams for 8 hours or 24 hours or 30 days.
That is super powerful. And I think in terms of like the way that she designs her personal brand, I would challenge you to find someone else who's playing at that level to the way in which Taylor Swift is doing it. We've seen her go through all the controversial things, from Kanye West stepping in and saying Beyonce should have won the Grammy and dealing with that. And the latest controversy that I think is just a brilliant, genius business move, in that she tried to buy back her catalog, but people prevented her from doing this. The sweetest revenge was she re-recorded all of her songs, and because of the strength and connection she has with her fans, now that is selling like crazy.
Which they don't allow you to do that anymore. I think they now, when they sign artists, they put in a clause that you can't re-record the stuff too, which is lame, but shout outs to her.
And she's done such a power move by being able to do this in an unprecedented way, re-recording, remastering all of her songs. So now you have a choice to choose to listen to her version of it or the label version of it, which she doesn't have access to. And this culminates in this beautiful moment that she launches into the Eras Tour, which is a 3-hour-long concert that is doing billions of dollars, that is quite literally shaking up the world. Before I get into the tactics on how we do this, because I'm dropping clues, if you're paying careful attention, you'll start to see a pattern happening here. Okay, so if you're picking up on all the clues that I'm giving, let's put it together here. I think there are 3 essential traits that make for a very attractive character, not in physicality, but attractiveness, like we're drawn to them, like magnets, we're just drawn to them, or as they say, moths to the flame. Number 1 is they have high self-awareness, and on top of that, they have high self-acceptance. So they need to know who they are and to love the parts about them that are both good and bad. The problem with some celebrities is they have self-awareness, but they don't have self-acceptance. They're fighting that. So they're building a barrier, that wall that keep us away from them. They don't want us in there. It's a close cousin. But number 2 is this idea.
You already said a lot of people are building a wall between them and their fans, you know, and that's something you don't want to do. You want to be self-conscious and self-aware enough to be transparent with everybody, with all your fans.
Idea of self-confidence. And self-confidence is not what you think it is. Self-confidence is a belief in your skills to solve a problem. You have a process and way of looking at the world that you know you can solve most problems. It's not about
your ability to make good music and perform dope shows,
having a high opinion of yourself, or being arrogant or treating people poorly. It's not about that at all. And number 3, probably the most important of all, which is a theme you're going to see here, is a degree of vulnerability. You feel like they're not going to keep anything away from you. So there's another word for vulnerability. It's called transparency. There's good things that happen in my life, and there are bad things that happen in my life.
Get that transparency.
I'm going to dish both out to you in equal measure, so you know what's going on. The opposite of which is like you're some kind of sociopath, where we can see that there's a person behind the eyes, but they feel dead to us. Like we don't understand.
See what he said? You have to be transparent with people, or else people feel like you're not even like human. You're a sociopath. You're not even like, I'm not even able to connect with you. And I'll probably be repelled by you and push you away because I don't like the energy. I'm not getting anything. I can't read you, and it gives murderer vibes. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be transparent. You want to be open, and you want to let people in because that creates connection.
So you need to know this. If you want to build a strong personal brand the way that I'm talking about here, you have to be willing to let people into those low moments as well as the high moments. We have to dance with both. Now I'm going to point out something here. We might have mentioned in this previous video, but Pixar has this rule. It's the 22 rules of storytelling, and they're the most successful studio of all time with multi-million, multi-billion-dollar hits. And their 22 rules of storytelling. Guess what rule number 1 is? Rule number 1 is that people admire characters more for their struggles and their failures than they do for their success. This is
woo! That's a bar. That's a bar. People admire people more for their successes, for their failures, than they do for their successes. Meaning, like, being transparent about the things that you fail at, your failures, your things that don't go as good, the songs that suck. People are more attracted to that. That makes you more human. That makes you more relatable. That makes you more likable. Imagine that.
Why it's important to have a character that is working through their problems is not perfect. And I think this is why characters like Superman are not relatable, but characters like Bruce Wayne and Peter Parker are highly relatable.
Exactly.
We can see ourselves in some small way in these characters because they're just dealing with problems just like us. If self-confidence, self-awareness, and self-acceptance and vulnerability, transparency are the most important components that I'm saying about becoming an attractive character, these are things you're going to have to define in yourself if you want to have a shot at developing your personal brand. This is not easy work. This is the work of a lifetime. And I do want to say this. This is not an indicator of age, because there are some people who are very young, like chronologically speaking, maybe even in their teens, who have high self-awareness, high self-acceptance, and I can't explain how they're able to come to this place. And then conversely, people that are much older in their 50s and 60s who are still wandering the earth, not knowing who they are, not knowing what their beliefs are and what they stand for. They haven't done that work. I can't explain why, but it's not an indicator of age. And there's this great line, because Dune is happening, right? There's a line from Dune that has followed me since I was first introduced to Frank Herbert's work, which is this line. It's very important. The sleeper must awaken. And we think it's a lesson from Paul's father, Duke Leto Atreides. At least it was portrayed that way in the David Lynch version. But in Denis' version, it's like his mom repeating this line, the sleeper must awaken. And I think that's such a powerful line that I think, and you've heard me say this before, we're all just sleepwalking through life. We're not really aware and awake in the present moment. And it's a wild thing, because I ask people, what'd you do today? Did you notice this thing that just happened across the street? And I do this with my children. I do this with my wife. I do this with my friends. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're not noticing things. They're not paying attention to what's going on. And I think they're just sleepwalking through life. So the sleeper must awaken. How do you awaken? I was having a debate with one of my friends who thought they had high self-awareness, when actually they were really high on self-conscious. And there's a difference between self-conscious and self-awareness, okay? Allow me to enter this into the...
Are you guys self-conscious and self-aware, or are you one or the other? And would you be able to identify which one you are more?
Debate. When you're self-conscious, you're thinking about yourself through the lens of yourself. Like, am I being too loud? Am I important? Am I beautiful? Am I ugly right now? But self-awareness is being able to perceive yourself from the eyes of other people. So when somebody says I have low self-awareness, it means that you're talking, but no one's interested, but you just keep talking more and more. You're not reading the audience. You think you're funny, charming, and you're telling captivating stories, but they're all falling asleep, but you can't see that, so you keep going. Like, the opposite of this is people who are on the spectrum. Like, one of the guys that used to work for me, he's a cinematographer. He would literally walk in front of the crowd, block the band, and take the shot and not feel any sense of the heat that most of us would feel, which would cause us to sweat. He had low self-awareness. How do we develop this? Well, we can be more observant and ask people what they're thinking and feeling. And we have to be able to pick up on some of the social cues that most of us are able to develop, I guess, in the neurotypical space, can develop. If you're neurodivergent, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you can learn these skills as well. What comes natural to people may just require a little bit more effort from you to be able to figure this part out. So when you have high self-awareness, you know how you're coming across to people, and you have to make certain decisions like, am I okay with this? Knowing that sometimes I say things that can be a little bit abrasive, am I okay with that? And that's the next step. It's because I think one of the most attractive
I believe
things
people like Kanye, they don't give a fuck. I think he's self-aware, but he's okay with it. You know what I'm saying? He's okay with creating the enemies of the people who don't like the things he say or the way he says it. That's something to take from, like, knowing when you need to be okay with not being liked, or being misunderstood, and just being okay with that. That's really important too.
A person can have outside of self-confidence is high self-acceptance. Do I love me for being me? Now, I'll tell you this. I was reading a book by Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Cells, and he says one of the most important discoveries of the 20th century in psychology was the development of this concept called the self-concept. Who am I and what makes me me? This is a tricky thing, because we can spend most of our lives not knowing who we are because we haven't taken the time to reflect on the things that we think about. We just experience life without reflection. And this is a really important component of it. So one thing that you can do is you can probably start journaling, to start making a habit of cataloging your ideas and your experiences, and then taking a break and then looking back on what you
I think as
wrote 2-3 weeks ago. And
I want to say that as rappers, singers, and songwriters, we are some of the most self-aware people in the entertainment business because of the degree of what we do, especially in hip hop. If you're a rapper where you're not able to work with as much as songwriters or people who come in and step in and kind of help you with the lyrics and things like that, as a rapper, where it's really like, you know, keeping it real and being this person in real life. You're thorough from the mic all the way to the stage, and back at home you're the same person, and being, you know, solid through and through. Um, you have to be very transparent, and you have to have very well at journaling your experiences and documenting the things that you go through in a way that a lot of people can relate to. So I feel like we're already, as artists, especially rappers, really good at that. So that's something to take in a chance. You're already really good at it. Just be more intentful with it.
and asking yourself if those things are true. Is this how other people saw you, or is this you leaving your own head? I think that's an important first step, is to be able to start to audit, record, and reflect on your thoughts on a daily basis. There are going to be people who are born with this natural innate talent in understanding who they are, who are full of self-love. Maybe they're raised a certain way, but that doesn't mean that the rest of us ugly, short people are just SOL. It don't mean that. So what I've noticed is that if we study things from literature, especially in fiction, there are certain commonalities, certain patterns that exist that allow us to fall in love with characters. Just think about this. When we read a book, a novel, a work of fiction, or when we watch a movie or TV show, when the character is harmed, we feel hurt ourselves. When they're hurt emotionally, we feel great sorrow for them. And how is this? It's because the authors, the people who create these universes, these narratives that we're immersed in, understand how to create characters for us to fall in love with them, for us to care. Otherwise, we wouldn't have read their books, watched their shows, or sat in a theater in a darkened room to kind of be taken on a journey.
What he's talking about is the hero's journey overall, but he's speaking specifically about the attractive character, which in most of you guys as brands, as rappers, singers, and songwriters, the attractive character is you. You know, so for me and my brand, that's 100 Drums Productions, I'm the attractive character, and I'm basically trying to use my expertise, my knowledge, my experience, the things I've been through, the things that I know, to kind of give value to you and draw you into liking me as far as the character for this business, the attractive character for this business. And hopefully you'll associate me and the things and the value that I give to you with my brand of 100 Drums Productions, so that anytime you see 100 Drums Productions, you think of, oh, that's 100's business. I like him. I'm gonna support that. They having an event, I'm gonna go because I like 100. Not just because I see the logo and it's like, oh, it's 100 Drums Productions. No, you go because, oh, 100, he do good stuff for me all the time. He give out value. He go over videos talking about how to build your brand, and you know, he's giving out free beats and stuff like that. And that, hopefully you take that and you say, oh, well, they're having an event, I'm gonna go support. Or they're having he's doing a live stream, I'm gonna go tune in, you know. So that's kind of what he's talking about.
I find that there are 4 key components. We won't have time to go through all of them in this video, but let me outline for you what they are, and we'll go deep into one of them. Number 1, every compelling character has an origin story. This is really important. And the origin story has some key components. Your backstory, where you're born, basically it's called your cultural currency. They say a lot about you and who you are, your beliefs, and your values.
Exactly.
They may not be true, but it's what the world accepts.
If I say I'm from Alabama, what you thinking? If I say I'm from Alabama, what is your immediate thought? Talk slow, can't read, can't spell, having sex with his cousin. Like that's the type of shit that I hear all the time when people, oh, you got a country accent. You know, it's these things just because I said I'm from Alabama. That's all you, and you all immediately associate that. Like you said, your social currency.
from you. And then in the origin story, there's this moment, an inflection point, an inciting incident in their life that everything changes. There's the ordinary world that happens before. And something happens to rock their world. It's a car accident, losing of a parent, getting accepted to university, being adopted. Something happens that radically transforms their lives. They're a whole different
This is the
person. It's
hero's
called
journey,
Crossing the
guys.
Threshold.
Golden.
If
I
you're
talk
a
about this
fan
a lot.
of Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, the monomyth. And lastly,
I probably do a video on the hero's journey specifically, just whole video just on hero's journey and how that applies to you as a rapper, singer, songwriter.
there are the ongoing trials and tribulations because no one in the real world has a solution and never falls back. It's like the drug addict who continues to struggle with remaining sober. It's the gambling addict who struggles with not gambling again. So it's referred to in the hero's journey as the relapse and the resurrection, how we fall back, but we emerge a little bit stronger. And that's the story for the rest of our lives. You don't ever, once you're an alcoholic, you never become not an alcoholic. You just learn to live with it. Now, number 2, which is community and culture. The people who support you, your tribe.
Community and culture, guys. It's top tier.
Tribes people, your village. This includes your mentor, coaches, your teacher, your sidekicks that help you to form your beliefs, your values, and your customs. Number 3, the defining attributes of who you are and your personal brand. So if we look into the world of fiction, I'm not going to miss on this opportunity to talk about comic books and pop culture. If you think of the most enduring characters, the ones that have lasted decades long, from your father's father to your father to you and to your children.
Batman.
We think of superheroes and we think of like,
my dad loves Batman.
What is it that they have? Well, they have a credo, the things that they believe, sometimes referred to in the modern era as a catchphrase, like Simon Sinek's "Start with why."
Ooh. So think about your favorite rappers. What's Young Jeezy's credo or his saying? Yeah. Or you know, all these artists, they got they own little thing that they say, like you know, you can think about the things that the artist, like I was listening to Glorilla and she's got this, yeah, Glow, she got that whole little thing going. Or even I was listening to Megan Thee Stallion, because they was on the same song, but she got that that little shit, that little shit that she do on her songs, and it's that thing, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of artists have that. Or even like Jay-Z, a little bit different. He's kind of, the credo is hey, we don't write the rhymes. The shit coming straight off the heart. We don't write the rhymes. Coming straight out the top, you know?
Or leaders eat last. He has so many of them. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do. The characters have a duality of both strengths and vulnerabilities, almost in equal measure. So the characters that are really relatable, as we've talked about in real life, have a lot of vulnerabilities, things that they know aren't perfect about them. And those things make the character more complete, more textured, and more real. And we can then see ourselves in their story as opposed to at an arm's length, like easy for them to say, I cannot relate to you. They also have a way of showing up. This is their uniform, the colors that they wear, the symbols and the iconography that make them who they are, the lexicons that define them. Superman, if you see the red cape, if you see that curly coiffed up front, if you see Batman's just his jawline or his ears, you know it's him. It makes him who he is. And you can think, well, yeah, in the world of superheroes, that's pretty easy to do. But you know, I just had this happen to me literally today. I'm sitting at a cafe, I'm talking to my friend who's a professional speaker, and somebody comes walking around. I don't notice them until they walk right up to me and it's like, hey, are you Christel? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, you know what? I was sitting behind you, and from the back, I can recognize it's you. I'm like, that's pretty powerful then, right? You want to be able to develop your uniform.
How many artists would you recognize from their voice? You know? Just hearing them talk, you'd recognize who they are.
Your wardrobe, basically, how you look, from your eyeglasses to your hat to your shoes, such that someone can recognize who you are purely based on your silhouette, or from 30 feet away, they know it's you. So part of this is your voice, the quality, the timbre of your voice, the tone, how you speak, how much energy you have, transmit a signal to the world, but also create what they call sonic branding. It's your signature sound, it's your signature look. Okay, and lastly, it's the enemy. So we have a community and culture that supports us. We must be able to have an enemy. Alan Dibb writes about this in his book, The One-Page Marketing Plan. He says we have to identify the enemy in common. It's like things that we hate. We hate bureaucracy. We hate.
So, um, like Kanye, his enemy is the fashion gatekeepers. I don't know what you call them, but the fashion gatekeepers who don't want him to have a successful Yeezy brand coming in as a rapper, who's done all this, vulgar, explicit things and trying to get into the fashion industry, and they don't want to have him. They don't want to see him there. So they're doing things to kind of keep him out, and that's kind of his common enemy. It's like, hey, the man is trying to stop us, and we're gonna fight, and we're gonna come together and take over the man. We don't need the man. We don't with Adidas. We don't need them. We're gonna do it ourselves, right? So that's kind of what a version of that would be.
Waste. We hate pollution. We hate selfish people. So if you can identify this, and I mentioned before,
and just for 100 drums, for me, it's that we hate basically the lazy rapper or the lazy artist who doesn't want to self-educate, who doesn't want to put in the work to build their team, who doesn't want to do anything but make music when it requires so much more. I want you to be well-rounded. I want you to be capable of building your business so that when you do go talk to labels, you have control and you have leverage. So that's kind of, I hate lazy artists.
In my Adobe Max talk on personal branding, I said Andrew Tate has an enemy, and the enemy he labels as the Matrix. Donald Trump has an enemy, lamestream media. You notice what they're doing here. They're labeling their enemies. They're calling it something. So there's a reason why I think Donald Trump is so successful in our modern political era, is because he doesn't have to tell you what he believes in. He just needs to tell you that we hate these things together. If we hate enough things together, we can rally around that. So exactly. Anger as well as love are two powerful emotional drivers to build.
So what's something that you could use to bring your community together by throwing rocks at the enemy? I think hate is a strong word. Russell Brunson, who's another advocate of this, he speaks about, he calls it throwing rocks at the enemy. Meaning like, hey, independent producers over here, look at all the major artists who can't control their own stuff. They can't even put out their own music whenever they want to. They can't even get paid from their own shows whenever they want to. They don't know how to sell their own tickets. They don't know how to communicate with their fans. Ha ha ha, look at them. Boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. And that's kind of how we treat it. We come together and we're like, yeah, we cool over here. We build our own stuff. We got our own business. We independent. We don't need no label. Yeah, we running shit. Yeah, we doing the thing. Yeah. And we rally up with similar beliefs. It's the same thing with churches and stuff. Hey, look, if we believe this, that is bad. We believe this is good, we believe that is bad, and I ain't gonna get into religion with y'all, but you get what I'm saying. Like it works like this. Is universal for building mass movement unity.
Building your tribe. So when we think, you know what, I'm Mr. Rogers, I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't want to say anything negative, then you don't really truly have a strong personal brand, because we're not rallying against the same things. So the enemy can be your nemesis, the one person who represents the equal and opposite version of you. Then there are people.
An even bigger, more relevant example would be the Drake beef. Look at all the people who then came together to diss Drake. And it's not like, it's been things that's come on across the year. He's built up enemies over the last decade. And at the end of this, all of these people now have come together and say, oh, I had a problem with Drake. You had a problem with Drake. You had a problem with Drake. You had a problem with Drake. Let's all come together and beef with Drake. They had a common enemy, and they formed an alliance just because they all had a common enemy. Look how powerful that is. So when you're building your community, you want to express what the common enemy is. And like I say, for us, it's the artist who doesn't want to build their business.
People, organizations, and ideas that you're against, And the bigger the cast of characters, the more people that you're trying to take down, the more that we have in common, the enemy in common, the more powerful your personal brand is. On a personal level, people ask me this all the time. They say, Chris, you're anti-education. I said, no, I'm anti-crippling student debt. I'm all for education. The problem is not the education part. It's about how much it costs us to acquire some information for jobs that may or may not exist in structures that don't accommodate for individual learning styles that are atypical. I have a problem with that, and that is my enemy. So that's why we see the future is like private art school without the crippling debt. As soon as I say that, shots are fired. And I'm okay with making some enemies. And you need to as well. Just to recap, there are 4 key components with subcomponents, but the 4 key components are your origin story, the community and the culture that supports you, your defining attributes, which includes your lexicons and icons, and then the enemy. The enemy. I want to make these other videos, but I want to make sure that you're enjoying this video and getting value from it, and that we're not talking to the abyss. I'm going to ask you to do 2 very specific things. First, pause, like this video, drop a comment so it's good for the algorithm so more people can see it. Apparently that's how YouTube works. And number 2, copy the link, send this to someone you know and care about who needs to see this video, and tell them why they should watch this, because that would do tremendous things for our channel. Within the constraints of a video, not to fry your brains and make you bleed out of your eyeballs, I'm going to go over the 4 key components to building a strong personal brand. And in subsequent videos, if so willing, we'll go do a deep dive on each one of these 4 core components. So now you know the 4 essential components to building a personal brand that connects with people. And it relates to all the things we talked about before about celebrities or famous people or authors or influencers that we like and have built an emotional bond with. They have high self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-confidence. They're willing to share publicly, transparently, the vulnerable things, so the highs and the lows. And I want you to do something. Pay attention now to the people that you see, look up and admire, and the ones that you feel a connection to, and run the test with me to see if it holds true. And let me know in the comments if you're like, hey, I found somebody where this isn't true, or I found someone where this is absolutely freaking true. Keep me honest and accountable. Thank you. Until next time. See you.
All right, guys, that's pretty much it for this video, man. Tell me, did y'all get any value from this? Do y'all feel like those are the requirements for building a personal brand for yourself? What do you talk about the origin story? Make sure you're sharing your origin story. Share your story and share it often. That's a quote from my boy Russell Brunson. Share your story, share it often. Make sure that people understand and know where you come from, because that could be something that they can relate to. You know, build community. You know, build community and culture in your business. Whether that's, you know, if you think about Future has a community and culture. Future has his own culture. Think about it. He's the top G playboy, you know what I'm saying? He's the ladies man. He's the hood guy who speaks for the hood, like almost like the voice of the streets. Even though Dirk said, I think it's Future. Yeah, man. So having that community, again, having common enemies. We throwing rocks at the enemy. It could be major labels. It could be independent artists. Your enemy could be us. You know what I'm saying? It could be anybody, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't even have to be a person. It could be a thing. Like Andrew Tate is the Matrix. He's fighting against the Matrix, the system, trying to hold him back. You know what I'm saying? And again, guys, this is just like some of the ways that you can go about and take this into account for building your own personal brand. And like I said, I just want you to remember being transparent and building your community and just being yourself authentically, consistently. You know what I'm saying? Getting in front of the camera, showing behind the scenes, telling people what you're going through, your failures, the things that are fucking you up. I haven't streamed Rapper Secrets in a minute because I got into it with my family because, you know, we all run this venue together, but, you know, we were having some issues and I packed all my shit up. I was ready to go. I was trying to go find my own shit. I'm going back to Atlanta because I'm not dealing with the bull. So we was able to work it out. But you know, you got to be able to stand on that. You gotta be able to stand on your beliefs and things like that. I had a strong belief, but that was something that I was going through, and I'm sharing that with you now. So doing stuff like that, just giving people insights to what's going on. Yeah, man. So I really hope that this video was valuable. Shout out to my boy Chris Doe. super successful entrepreneur, super intelligent guy. Yeah, and I'm gonna try to do more stuff based around other rappers, other artists speaking on this stuff. But a lot of times I'm gonna find people outside of the music industry and bring you guys this information so that you can really see what's going on. These guys are the perfect. Most artists that are signed, some know, like you got a few of them like Tory Lanez or Russ who kind of know what's going on. Your Nipsey Hussles, your Young Dolphs who know what's going on. But most artists, especially the younger, newer artists, they can't even really tell you how to get on. They can't tell you what they did to get on. And a lot of us are trying to mimic them, even though we don't know all the things that are going on behind the scenes, what their team's doing, what their team's strings are pulling. You might think they just on the shade room all the time when they paying them folks. Or when they setting up scenarios to do that. Or even like this Drake beef. They probably, you know what I'm saying, fabricated. I'm sure they just put this together in a lab somewhere and was like, yeah, it's about time, a decade, time to, y'all all come at me type shit. So I hope this made sense, man. I hope this gave you some value. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I'm gonna be doing more live streams in the future. It's getting close to about 7. I got a session coming up. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, man. Again, stay tuned. We're gonna be doing more live streams. Be sure to follow the main account, follow the 100 Drums account so that you get notifications whenever I go live. And I also live stream my beats and stuff over there. So I make beats on live stream a lot of the times. I also live stream studio sessions with artists. We're doing a lot of stuff like gaming and entertainment and stuff, which I'm gonna start bringing into the channel. We're gonna do challenges, we're gonna do giveaways, we're gonna do contests, all here inside of the Rapper Secrets group. By the way, if you're not inside of the Rapper Secrets group, be sure to go to 100drums.com/community and get your invite into the Rapper Secrets group so that you can catch these live streams and ask your questions, pick my brain. Whatever you need, man. We're gonna be doing a lot inside of those groups. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. It's 100 with 100 Drums Productions. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to share this video with a friend on Facebook, Instagram. And yeah, man, let's get the word out that we out here building up these brands. I know y'all out here using these tips. Y'all finna go apply it into your life, into your business, because we out here independent and it's all dependent on us. We gotta get it. It's all on us. It's all on you. So we wrapping it up, man. I appreciate y'all. If we ain't got no comments or questions, let me go into the Facebook and see if we got any comments. Yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. It's 100 with 100 Drums Productions. Be sure to go to 100drums.com, get those new beats that have just been uploaded. Yeah, man, y'all have a good day. See y'all next time.